Hey guys, welcome to the Zombie Grind podcast. I'm your host, Mark Warner, the creator of Zombie Grind brand. And with me, I got a good buddy of mine, real good buddy. He's a brother. His name's Cliff.
AKA Sea Breezy, Dirt Sea, AKA Chi-Town Latte, and Fat 2004 Ryan Sheckler.
You guys will be excited to listen to this podcast. He's a really funny guy, and his stories could go on for days. So Cliff, where did it all start from you? Like, where's your humble beginnings?
A trailer park about 14 miles away from where we are directly right now. Playing cops and robbers and Indians with all the crackheads kids in my neighborhood. It was a pretty good childhood. We were broke.
I kind of did that in Kent.
There was a lot of kids in the neighborhood, you know?
Yeah, kind of did that in Kent myself with the apartments, Silver Meadows, I think they were called. Yeah, so one of them were a gang, and then they tried to gang up on us, and we had to run because they were part of like the playground, gang, whatever name that would be. What's a good playground gang?
A good playground.
If you were like,
gang
this
name.
this is our territory, this playground, and it was just me and my sister. We were just hanging out.
The Second Street starts off there. Second Street.
Maybe like the room 32 or some gang or something like that. That's funny.
Good old days of playing on the school ground, getting your ass kicked.
Yeah. Did you have any memorable playground ass kickings or giving ass kickings?
First 4 years of school, I was actually one of the faster kids in like 3rd, 4th grade. So playground, when we played tag a lot and stuff, because we had a big green pasture out behind our elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my memories, from the early days were I was like the fastest kid around. And, back then that was this kind of stuff that made you cool, All you had to do was be faster than everyone, and you were the
I
coolest
know,
kid.
dude. Yeah, it's so funny. It's one of the reasons I love running. I run so fast, like in football and all the sports I played throughout school. Played a lot of sports. Even the bowling team.
You run the bowling team?
Yeah. I almost got a 300. It was awesome. My grandpa, speaking of, he got like 3. He's got the championship rings, like with the red in it, marked for 300 and shit.
Oh, I know those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you at bowling? Are you any good?
I'm a fair bowler at best. I don't know. Out of 300, I'm hitting, 130, 140. Surprisingly enough, I have a really good left-handed throw.
Yeah.
Where it came from, I don't know. But if I ever choose to throw left-handed, it generally gets a strike or pretty close to it. Oh, it's weird.
Yeah. Were you saying that in baseball?
No, not in baseball. In bowling. Yeah.
Oh, bowling.
Yeah.
Oh. In baseball, I was able to pitch and bat right and left-handed for some reason.
Really?
Ambidextrous. Yeah. It's crazy.
Good old days of baseball.
Yeah. Good old days of being a kid and being like flexible, like freaking a rubber band.
Like those videos now where you see those little kids. Well, because that's what we used to do back in the day, When you first started playing baseball, you were probably put in the outfield, unless you were one of the bigger kids.
Started out in the outfield.
Yeah. And if you were thrown all the way into left field, which was the worst position, you were picking daisies.
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon comes along, you're playing school across town, and, your dad's fucking screaming at you from the bench because you ain't seen the action in 2 hours, and you're like just kicking dirt, picking daisies,
It finally comes to you, get the ball!
Yeah. And so like there's 2 different games going on, the game that everyone else is playing and the game that you're playing with your dad, who like it wants to kick your ass.
Dude, for me, it was totally, it was my stepdad, and like after the games, like we'd go with the team to get ice cream or whatever, and then he'd be like, "Yeah, so good game. So you know what you did wrong?"
It was always that. Yeah. You know what you did wrong?
Yeah.
What did? Don't beat me.
Yeah, the 2 home runs wasn't enough.
Yeah, unrealistic expectations with
Yeah.
the kids, man. That's crazy.
What in school? What sports or special activities did you do, like in your span of
Do you
being in
count
the school system?
I always was one of those kids that slept like at the beginning of school. Like I put my head down and sleep, and they always put me in English class first, like going from like 4th grade up through my entire school year.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always the kid that was a sleeper. So therefore, I was always kind of like catching up with my grades. So
Yeah.
I didn't really like play anything besides baseball, which wasn't like an in-school thing.
Right.
But special skills included failing 6 or 7 English classes in the midst of my younger years, and being put in a class with kids with learning disabilities, even though I did not have a learning disability.
It was just you were sleeping all the time.
Yeah.
Or?
There was 4 or 5 kids in there, and 2 of them had, I think, maybe Down syndrome, and a couple of the other kids had like physical disabilities, so they had like a separate classroom for all the kids, so they didn't really get picked on.
Right.
And because I failed English every single year, and I just fucking hated school and never cared about it, I was always
Yeah.
in that class with them. You know.
Did you always, like, people say that, but did you always hate school, or can you think of times where it's like, man, that teacher was awesome, I really understood that class because of them or him or her, or a special time that you did something like, for me, like, it may be sick, but getting the chance to dissect a baby shark.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's crazy.
That was pretty crazy. But the even crazier thing was, and this was at Crestwood and Manaway, Ohio, is the same teacher was a biology teacher, and his other class. So the one class was dissecting baby sharks, which was us, and then the other class was people dissecting cats.
Really?
Yeah. So the whole bottom stairs of Crestwood, and people know if you went there, the lunchroom is right there, right across the room from his class, and it smelled like just dead cats. It was terrible.
Well, I know
Yeah.
cat piss smells pretty bad from my days in the trailer park,
Yeah.
so I can only imagine dead cat like
Yeah.
itself.
It's a very like dead smell. It's very heavy. It was. He tried his best, but
Speaking of dead cats, Mark, you've seen the movie Tremors.
oh
right?
yeah,
Okay.
big
do you
fan.
remember Tremors 3?
Yeah.
Do you remember that was the movie where they evolved into the flying shriekers?
Uh-huh.
I just watched it again last night,
Yeah.
and their basic biology was how they got their speed boost to flight was there's a stomach acid in their body and their internal blood, and it mixes together in their asshole and shoots out jet fire, and that's how these things get off the ground to fly through the air.
Man, it's so part of the Tremors trilogy, and I love dude. I've watched all of them. I even have a DVD 1 through 4, I think it is. But even to the latest one, I watched it on Netflix or Hulu. The story is hilarious. Like, you remember the I can't think of his name, but the guy that I remember him as the elephant gun guy.
Bert.
Yeah, Bert. Yeah, in this latest one, Bert, they're on an island. They brought it to an island, and yeah, dude, and they try to get him, and
They find him and he's got long hair.
yeah,
And yeah, you
He
know
tried
what's funny?
for a
That guy
minute to-
probably he looks like he enjoys it. You know, that's writing the character out. That guy
Yeah.
didn't have a big career. Every time some
Dude,
shitty producer company called him, we're like, we're making another Tremors movie. You know, he was right down on it.
yeah. It's a now today's like we're talking about it because we both grew up in the 90s, but so we have that feeling of what it was when it was newer, I guess. But nowadays it's a cult. It's a cult following for the Tremor movies. Like people have made because I don't know. I guess like the writers um didn't write out exactly what the creature was, but now nerds and stuff, like, all due respect, uh um put diagrams of these creatures and things like that, so now it's like they're totally understood. It's crazy.
Well, dude, our childhood, that was the best age, the early 90s, man, you know? Like, school sucked, but everything outside of school was awesome. I always have an affinity for shoulder pads on women in the early 90s. Like,
that's your thing.
Yeah, some of my first sexual thoughts ever were of Topanga from Boy Meets World.
Oh, dude, Topanga was my first.
Oh, man. Dude,
Topanga and the Olsen twins.
And that ass, man.
I don't think it was ever the booty. I think it was, for me, it was the curly hair. I got a thing for girls with curly hair. Those big eyes.
I remember being a kid and like watching her and, you know, just becoming of age kind of. And it's kind of funny how real quickly you go from like girls have cooties to don't know what is poking out of my pants.
Right.
You know, it's and you don't realize that that's happening.
That was going on for me when I was watching Topanga Boy Meets World.
I'm telling you, man. Sitting over at grandma's house and you're like, I've never seen a girl that was like sexually charged to me kind of like that.
Yeah.
You know, enough to go home and draw tits on a pillow and hump it and get caught by my mom.
It's like Pamela Anderson in VIP. If anyone remembers that show, she was banging.
Me and Josh were just talking about VIP the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah? I totally forgot about that until you mentioned it. And that was such a good one, though.
Yeah.
Do you remember another cool TV show from that period that you have to? And it'll blow your mind here. Do you remember that show about a Dodge Viper? It was called Viper.
I remember you guys finally, by the time I left, you figured it out, and you were like, yeah, Viper. That was like the last thing I heard. I was leaving, and I heard Viper.
Yeah. So when we looked into it, it was...
I can't say I remember it, but I remember Nash Bridges.
It wasn't... the Viper car, it was more about the people around him, you know? It was this guy that owned a Viper. But it wasn't a talking Viper like Knight Rider. They didn't follow that thing out. It was this cool, badass thing that was kind of like a James Bond car. And this is what everyone forgets. The guy could hit a button, and the car would turn indestructible. Remember? Steel plates would come out around it. It would get jet boosters and rockets. And that was the point of the show.
Was it the 80s or 90s?
I'm thinking it was the 90s. See, we all remembered it, but I totally had no idea. We found the trailer for it. Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, big tits, Vipers. Early 90s.
Can't go wrong with big tits.
What sports you play growing up into like middle school and stuff?
In middle school is when I really got into like, was already in baseball, football, wrestling, and swim team, the Sharks. Dude, there's a story. The first time, first practice of swim team, because this girl I was talking to, Jessica, she talked to me into joining the team, and first day, man, coach was like, jump in the water. It was Olympic sized pool. Go from end to end as much as you can till you run out of breath. I was like, for real? And back then, like now I can do that. Like you were with me when we were at the the Kent State Rec Center. I can go back and forth underwater now for Olympic size, but something I pride myself on. I love being underwater, but yeah, so the coach was like, yeah, go back and forth. I went one time there, one time back, one time there, one time back, one time there, then barely made it back. And I'm like, I gotta be done after this. And he's like, all right, take a break, a 10-minute, 5-minute break, whatever. And he's like, all right, now I want you to do this, and I want you to do these exercises of going up and down, back and forth until you run out of breath. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. And yeah, so that was my experience with the swim team. I was in it for a little while, a few months, maybe like 3 to 4 months, but it was cool. Oh, and I was on track for a little bit, but after a while, it just got, at that point, it got to be way too much running, way too much. But yeah, I would say it probably inspired why I love running so much.
Track was, going into high school was the only thing I played. I played cross country too, but long distance running was my thing. Funny story.
I just like doing it in the wilderness where you can, like, you know, something about the runner's high is so true, and I get it, and that's why I like it, because at first it sucks. There's like a meter. At first it sucks. At first you're like, why the fuck did I do this? And then you finally get going. Then you get a sweat going, and you feel the sweat, and then it gets to the point where it's like this high, and you're like, if I can go this far, how the fuck far can I go? You know?
Oh yeah, man. I miss those days. I still run a little bit from time to time, but it was good competition, man. I remember being in track.
Yeah.
With a very bad track team.
See, I got a good life pointer right there. So you should always never get less active because you get older, because that's just some kind of stereotype or what you've been listening to on commercials. You need to be like always, every year, every New Year's should be a marker of like how you've gotten higher in some part, you know, and do something.
Oh yeah.
You know, because if you're not living, you're dying is the same. But you should I don't know, I feel like this urge for this message that actually trying for things is actually really important, because you can actually do it. You'd be surprised. Like, I got a chance to travel the US and Canada and almost Europe just because of just like circumstances. It's because you just try, you just say yes at that certain thing, or, you know, do whatever needs to be done. Maybe at first that sucks, but then you know it's going to get you somewhere, so you do it, or whatever the situation may be. But just saying, telling the people out there, you got to do what you got to do to get where you got to go, but don't forget about the opportunities on the sidelines, and you should take them sometimes.
That's where all the best opportunities come from.
Like you did. You, like, dude, you're a great example. How many times have you got the chance, who nobody in their life gets, to go from where we live, Ohio, to California, and you get to drive back and forth, and you did it with, you know, label bands.
100,000 miles in the last 2.5, 3 years. Yeah, man, the tour life, that's a tough one, man. There's so many great experiences that come with the tour life.
I know.
You gotta be a certain type of person to really love being on the road that much, you know?
Yeah.
Because everyone misses home, you know? But man, the last couple of years,
I was thrown into it. My if I could just interject for 1 second, not my small experience, but my experience, and we'll get to stories later, but I want to hear Cliff's. But in high school and during the weekends, traveling for Metal Blade and then coming back, and it's so funny because I necessarily couldn't relate to friends. They're like, yeah, I went to the Dusty, or I went to do this, and I'm like, oh, well, I traveled the freaking US. What'd you do? And went to rockin' concerts and everything else. But tour life on the road people don't really know about, and that's what he's saying is it's for certain people. But learning at a young age, I'm glad I did, because I had job opportunities, but it was more important for me to get the life experience, because you only live once. And I would say traveling, just constantly, year by year, at least one day, travel somewhere, just keeps you sane, and you see that the world is bigger than your backyard. And they're like, you know, you got those people that say, oh, well, yeah, if you've seen that, you've seen everything. No, there's something about the energy about being there. Like, if you've been to Stonehenge, or if you've been to the Great Pyramids, there's something so different about that. I'm sure you can attest to that, but I'm just saying, because I got to see so many monuments, and it was something different about being there than, but yeah, so go on, please. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, man, some good tour stories. Smoking dope just about every corner of the U.S. That's one of the best things about tour, is always getting hooked up with weed somewhere, especially if you haven't had someone in a couple of days.
Yeah.
You know, tempers flare a little bit. You know, you're stuck in a like tin box with like 8 sweaty people. You know,
that's a given.
All the
That's a total given.
Walmart trips.
But Walmart's a savior though. In the morning, you can go somewhere, brush your teeth, and.
Funny story. At the beginning of last year, on a tour out on the West Coast, in San Francisco for my first time, and I'm driving a 20-year-old RV that I had purchased with a hard rock band from Sweden, Canterbury, and I knew that there's a lot of hills going into San Francisco, but what I didn't realize is that there's multiple intersections running horizontally up these hills, and we got this, I don't want to say piece of shit 20-year-old RV, but this thing is on its last legs.
Mm-hmm.
And the GPS tells us that we got to go straight up one of these hills.
Yeah.
And with being in this big rig and kind of going down this road, not having a shirt, I've never shit my pants more driving a vehicle. Coming up, each intersection flats off at a 45-degree angle. And so every time we come up to the top of an intersection, it flattens out and we scrape both sides of the bottom and exhaust up the road.
Oh, shit.
And then there's 6 intersections going up to the top of these hills.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like you lose momentum when you're on the flat ground and you got to punch it. And then you like bottom out going up, and then you're already at like a 45-degree angle. You know what I'm saying? So you this motor, like it's chugging. Bottom out again, fucking exhaust of the generator.
And you got the trailer behind you.
Shitting pants, get around nowhere to drive for like an hour and a half. Finally find a place to park. And we're stuck next to what looks like a circus of homeless people who are robbing tourists and alternating between selling crack cocaine and stealing shit and selling it to people who are walking by.
What state was that?
San Francisco in California. And I was too terrified to leave the rig the whole time that as soon as the band left, I sat in there and I had a knife on board, man, and I fucking sat there in my hand, and they have blacked out windows, and I'm literally looking at the window, and there's 20 homeless guys trading. There's like 20 homeless guys trading goods that they've stolen from people and selling crack, and yeah, it was one of the crazy experiences I've ever had. I'm smoking weed the whole time, sitting there. Like they didn't know I was in there.
Yeah.
It was wild.
My first experience of New York was going on tour, and we were in downtown and turned right into Main Street into the traffic and stopped at the first light, and it was looked to the left and there was some homeless guy. No care in the world, just turned left into the street towards us next to a trash can and opened up his pants and dick and balls let it all go and just pissed. And I couldn't believe like there was just kids and mothers walking by, and he's just like psh, like no care, rolls it back up and then just goes on, and I'm like, we've arrived. It's crazy.
And you don't just slowly you don't just get to that point. That's a slow process that happens.
Yeah.
Oh man, but those homeless problems, man, I've seen some shit from the bums in New York. It's sad to say, you know, like there's a difference between someone who is homeless and less unfortunate and then a bum. They're a complete difference. Bums are terrifying, and they're the same everywhere you go. Me and Chris saw one outside the LA History Museum in California. I don't know if it was either the trip you were there with us, Mark, or if it was the trip that Johnny was there. We're stopped at an intersection.
Oh no, California, La Brea tar pits and stuff?
No, I'm saying, I don't know if it was the trip we were there with you or if we were there with Johnny. Sitting at a red light, out here comes a bum, shirtless, looks like he hasn't had a haircut in 25 years, brushing his teeth, one hand on a steering wheel, while he's weaving in and out of people in this crosswalk, okay?
Yeah.
He's fucking brushing his teeth. And Chris looks at me and I look at him and I'm like, you know, like, you gotta be on some drugs to be brushing your teeth, riding a bike, you know, through like a busy fucking intersection,
right,
you know?
Right.
And okay, so as he goes to get to the curb, he starts going right. And like, he starts losing his handle and he's like, so he like jams himself in his mouth with his toothbrush and front flips off the front of it.
Oh
and
shit.
And Chris are just sitting there watching this guy. And I remember as we
I
passed,
wasn't
Chris
there.
just goes, and of all things, he was brushing his teeth, which is why it happened in the first place.
Worst time to brush your teeth.
It's got to be some sort of madness to it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
A man whipping his dick and balls out and pissing in front of you. That's beyond mental illness. At some point, they're just trying to do that. Why? Who knows? What else have you seen crazy? I know you got another good bum story in you.
Another good bum story. Oh yeah, I got a few. Okay, there's two. Maybe I'll just. The first one was just these bums that came up to us, and we were just about to leave for tour, and it was in Cleveland, I think, and they were like, "Yeah, man, Forever and Terror. Yeah, we heard you outside. You guys rocked, man. Hey, man, I got something for you." And he just reached into his sock and he gave us some buds, and it was. I mean, what do you say to a guy that just gave you weed out of a sock? But we were about to go on. we were about to go on tour, so we took it and just put it.
Sock weed, you gotta take it.
Just put it away, and hung out at the venue, partied, and then left for tour. And then, you know, when you're on the road and things get sparing, you're just like,
shit gets dicey, man. You know, you gotta start making decisions. Who's gonna be the first band member to get eaten?
Right.
Like that.
So we just decided to just, you know, smoke a blunt, and then it was all right, but it just really smelled like detergent. So yeah, we took that, and oh yeah, I guess now that I think about it, our bum stories are have weed involved. So this is the craziest one. We were in St. Louis, Missouri, Forever and Terror, and we were just packing in our equipment, and then I was tour manager, so I was just helping them, but we were putting it in, and then this bum came up to us, and he's like, "Hey guys," me and my cousin Chris, and he's like, "Hey guys, you guys got a light?" And we're like, "Yeah, man, no problem." Gave him a light, and he just lit up this fat blunt, and it smelled so good. And then he's like, "Yeah, guys, here you go." And we were like, but we were kind of young and naive, so we took it and then smoked it. And then he's just like, "All right, guys, well, you guys have fun, peace." And it was just like a call from heaven or something. Like, he just just walked off, and it was good bud. There's nothing wrong with it, and so it's kind of weird. I've only met like happy bums, happy stoner bums.
Step up from the sock weed.
Yeah.
Well, you got to be in that position, you know.
Yeah.
If you're down in life, the positive attitude's all you have. That's the
sometimes it's
remember.
all you got. Yeah. And people want to be naive about the fact, but it's something I totally believe in. You should just, at the very least, I mean, everybody has something they want to move towards, even if they say they don't. They have something, like, and if not, just start working towards something and see what happens. Like, I just started this podcast, and it seems to be going well. I'm gonna make mistakes and stuff, but you just gotta keep going, and just, if it doesn't work, then it fails, and then you just try something else and just keep going. And you only live one life, so you might as well just try everything. Like, we're in our 30s now, and by the time we're 80, that means we still have 50 more years to go. We've only lived 30, so.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's how you have to look at life every single day.
So yeah, and I guess personally, I see it as take opportunities and things you can do to better yourself. So then, you know, success favors the prepared. You know, accept challenges so that you may feel the exhilaration of victory. Are a couple quotes I like, but you just gotta keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, you gotta dig it, you know.
Yeah, Joe Dierte said it best.
Yeah, you really did. So, talked about weed a little bit. So when did your weed, I don't know what you call it, lifestyle start?
Started about 13 years old, smoking leaves out of a Coca-Cola can. And getting so paranoid that I was going to get in trouble. But I put like 800 fans in my house. and
Yeah.
opened every fucking window and aired it out for like 2 hours after literally 2 tokes of some ground up leaf. And that's when it started, man. Got a little stoned, and here we are at 33 years old, smoking, toking, joking.
Steve Miller, he's a man. My older brother got me on it. He was we just built this barn, and he's like, all right, I'll be back in a second, and he never came back. We were gonna hang out and do something, and so I went out and checked on him, and I was like, yo, Steve, and he's like, hey, come up here. And there's like, we had like a attic thing, so climbed the ladder, went up there, and he's like, hey, come here, take a hit of this. And I was like, what is it? And he's like, weed. And like at the time, like I like smelled it from my stepdad, like the weed and stuff, so I was interested. So I to my own accord smoked it, and it was the same thing, like out of a Pepsi can or something. But it was dark up there, so when we came down and then went out the door, and it was a beautiful summer day, the leaves were like a color I never saw before, and like all colors were just amazing. And
that's what the weed will do to you, man.
Yeah,
magnifies the little interesting things in life that we don't see every day.
Right. And it really just somehow just inherently puts in perspective what's important, what's not, But I would say at this point, I've been smoking, you should, what's the old saying? Basically just don't overindulge yourself. Like, don't become a stupid stoner where you just sit and don't do nothing. Like, become somebody that you get stoned and then you do something, or you do something and then you get stoned.
Well, that's the best way, especially you gotta split your sativa and your indicas,
Yeah,
Sativa's
right.
more of a head high, that's what you do before you go out. I mean, but nothing beats smoking a fatty and going to sit down and eat it like Red Lobster. Could you imagine, little doobie?
Or just cruising on the highway smoking.
Oh, dude. Now, if I could cruise on the highway smoking, listen to good tunes, and also
some
eat
Kid Cudi,
Texas Roadhouse cinnamon butter rolls at the same time, life's over.
And maybe some like steak bites.
Yeah, life's over.
Oh man. So you're a musician. How have you evolved as a musician over time?
Went from sucking to sucking less.
That's
being
pretty
okay
much
with
the
it.
sum of it.
Yeah, no, man. I've always enjoyed being a musician, but at times I never really took it too seriously, and I was never really trying to master it. I love listening.
You were jamming out at Nelson Ledges.
Sometimes I like listening to music more than I like writing it.
Yeah.
But it's always kept me in it, man. I mean, I've been playing guitar for 20-something years, and
Yeah, you're not bad at it.
I've gotten pretty good. I like to play my instruments.
Yeah, you're not bad at it. Not bad at all, bro. Man, so yeah, speaking of Nelson Ledges, I'm gonna let you tell some stories, and I'm gonna stop jabbering. Tell me some crazy things that you know about Nelson Ledges, or that's happened to you at Nelson Ledges, or maybe crazy things that you saw at Nelson Ledges, and maybe some of your favorite concerts at Nelson Ledges. P.S. I love Nelson Ledges.
Craziest thing I've ever seen was probably tripping real hard one day, and I was walking with my guitar, and I see security bust this guy who had, I don't know, probably like a half a kilo of coke in his backpack, which is a lot.
Oh wow,
that's a lot especially for a place like that.
That's quite a bit.
And
If people don't know, I'll give just slight, but I would like for you to describe it too, because you pretty much grew more close around it. My experiences were more the festivals and stuff, but and I also enjoyed swimming it too. I also found my girlfriend there, Sherilyn. But and I know you're jealous, and I'm sorry, but oh man, but it was pretty cool for a lifeguard at Nelson Ledges. Just gotta say. But and she's just a sweetheart. But way that Nelson Ledges is, you just pay a fee and then you can camp up in the woods. But they got a great like view of like water, and you can jump off a cliff, and it's just like everyone's just there to have a good time. But Cliff, how would you describe it?
Probably one of the few places in the world you could actually be free with a group of people that you can feel free with. There's a lot of bad things and good things about the place, but the one thing is when you're in the front door, you can just be yourself, and that's why I love that place so much. I'll love it to the day I die.
Same here.
Go there and be completely myself.
Same here. Completely. It's just even if it comes to the day where I just go there just to take a swim or something, jump off the cliff. But you were saying about stories of you at Nelson Ledges.
Oh yeah, this guy with half a kilo of cocaine gets busted, and tripping, playing guitar, watching it, and the security guards pull it out, and instead of busting the guy, they kick him out the front door, and they take this kilo and they just dump it in this water, like right in a mud puddle. They go to walk away, and I'm still sitting there tripping, playing guitar, just watching this, kind of like I'm like being the orchestrator of like what's happening, and I'm just standing off. I'm an innocent bystander. I have nothing to do with it. And I watched a bunch of hippies run up with straws. I shouldn't say hippies. I should say dirty little wook folk of the woods. Hippies are much different. So dirty little wook foot people of the woods run up with straws, and they're literally trying to scoop it up out of the mud and stuff. And if you've ever held powder in your hand and set it down into water and pulled it back out, only the powder that gets touched by water beads off. So you still have powder in your hand. And I watched them literally scoop out handfuls of cocaine out of this mud puddle, and somehow, like, I don't know, either that or I was tripping real hard. But it was one of the craziest things I've ever seen at that place.
And what are some of your favorite concerts there? Festivals.
Pyro de Mayo 2019 was really cool.
You and I went to Classics Fest, which was pretty sweet.
It's always the best festival to go to.
Yeah. I like to go to damn, I can't think of it, but yeah, Classics is a great one.
Should have eaten mushrooms before we did this.
That would have been fun.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah. Just gonna pack up the bowl here.
Oh, folks, we're packing up a bowl.
We may have to take a small smoke break here, but I'm sure most of you don't mind.
If we can figure out what Mark here did with the tray that he handed me that I did something with.
So, how is it for you living? You live out in the country, without giving too much of a location, but you live so much out in the country that you live there's next to a stop sign where the Amish just come and stop you, like, or not stop, but they stop, and that's what you hear at night is just hooves, and you know, what's that like?
Non-stop hooves all
Yeah,
the time.
compared to just like, you know, most people, which is, you know, cars, or I'm not sure.
Suck.
It's not peaceful. It seems like it'd be peaceful.
It's not peaceful at all. No, it can be peaceful sometimes, but like Amish are ignorant just like everyone else is.
They're really like just like everyone else.
Yeah, they're not much different. They play off your ignorance. They want you to think that they're stupid so that they can get away with doing stupid shit. And then when you catch them doing stupid shit, they're like, "Oh, I didn't know I was allowed to do that." And it's like, "Yeah, you did."
Well,
Yeah,
on my way here, because we're actually recording this at Cliff's place. I saw some Amish that had lights on their vehicle, and like they were blinking red, and you know, just letting me know that there's something that's completely black coming my way.
hit this weed.
Yeah.
The world is always trying to break you. But the thing is, some of the best things in life come from suffering. I love love nature. I love learning about how nature works. And the more you learn, it's kind of sad what we do to the planet.
Oh, for
And it's
sure.
a naturally progressing thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's been hot and cold ages on the planet, you know. I do believe global warming is a thing, but it's a thing that's been happening since the last ice age.
Yeah.
Ever since the last ice age stopped, we've slowly been warming up. We now...
See, but hold on. This is my argument. It's pretty short, and it's pretty to the point, and it just makes sense because it is what it is. And so, and it's funny because an old woman pretty much summed this up for me. The whole like global warming and everything. It's not global warming or this or that. You know what it is? This is, and this is how she summed it up. Quote: "It's an old world." End quote. The world's seen what it's seen already. It's just basically doing its thing. But to us, within our time, I feel like it's like we think that it's something that we're doing or something we can stop. You know, just like how the Mayans prayed to whoever, or the Indians prayed to, you know, the sky for rain and stuff like that. It's us basically doing the same thing.
Oh yeah, man, that's how it all started. Well, King Tut's father was the first Egyptian pharaoh. Before that, everybody prayed to the sun when they needed sun. They prayed to the god of hay when they needed hay to grow. Everybody, there was thousands of deities, you know, that everyone prayed to.
Yeah.
King Tutankhamun, as they, you know, real name or whatever, but his father was the first to understand power in holding all of that. So he tried to outlaw the worship of any other god, and he tried to become the first, I do believe, historical leader to make himself a secular god. And I do believe King Tut killed his father because of that. And that was kind of the beginning of it all.
Yeah. It's crazy with world leaders and stuff because it's almost like, man, how can someone hold such power that they can just like control a legion of people and just be like, okay, so we're just gonna send them out this far into this country because we're gonna fucking attack them, or we're gonna own that shit, or like how they did back in the day, or you hear in your history books is we're just gonna own that shit. We're gonna.
They don't own the people themselves. They just own what they believe. And if you can own what somebody...
Well, I'm saying conquerors like Alexander the Great and Napoleon.
Yeah.
And
They control it. Yeah, you can't make anybody do something that they don't already want to do. So the only way you can control them is by being the person that provides what they want.
make them believe that they're doing what they want to do.
You control what they believe, and if you're the one that controls what they believe, you have control over them.
Absolutely.
Look, it's been that way from the fucking dawn of time, you know?
Yeah.
Who was it? Pericles. I think Pericles was the first Athenian governor or senator to institute democracy.
You know what's so funny that you said that, because I learned today, I don't know what it was, some article I was reading or whatever, but I learned that democracy started in Greece. So.
He was, I don't know who like the actual country's leader was at the time. But oh yeah, they hated him for it. He was the first person that ever did it.
Wow.
I don't know, he might have got killed for it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is crazy. Just like with witches and stuff, like they're just like, I always believed it growing up, like, oh shit, like witches are real, like Salem, like those are real witches, like they did something to people for them to burn them, right? But then as I got older and did research, I just found out that what they were was women with ideas. They were just smart women, and people didn't believe them. And of course there's other reasons and stuff, but all in all, like all the witches that got burned, all they really were, aside from any other situation, was smart women that had smart ideas on law, on philosophy.
You gotta think of like the religious temperament at the time with the Puritans when they started doing that. It was so
No, like can we add in the Wayne's World Milwaukee right now? The Allison Cooper Milwaukee. Well, yeah, just in we're in Milwaukee. It used to be called Milwaukee by the Indian.
He goes Milwaukee, and Alice Cooper goes, well, actually, the ancient Algonquins called it Milwaukee.
Thank you. Oh, that's awesome.
Good old Milwaukee.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy. I don't think so.
Good rock scene, man.
Got to go to
Hot
Boston.
chicks.
That was cool. Yeah. I want to say probably the hottest chicks I saw was in Canada. Maybe.
Dude. Canada's got some
Yeah.
hot
They just got, and they're nice, and they're just, to us Americans, we're just like, but you're nice.
I would love to move up to Canada. Get you a good Canadian.
Yeah.
They're not like prissy and uptight like those here.
Right. So true. Yeah, I enjoyed my time in Canada. I got 2 weeks in Canada. It was nice. Well, all right, bro. Well, it was a great time spending it with you, and thanks for all your stories. And you definitely got to come back on.
Anytime, dude.
All right, bro. Thank you, and thank you guys for joining. Smash that like button, subscribe. All right. This is the Zombie Grind podcast. Peace.
Jersey out.